Hi, guys. We're going to get started here in a matter of moments on the show. Live on YouTube, Judah. Live on Twitter as well. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines, folks. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. J-Dubs, you will have the who, what, when, where, why for the CVille student housing and the No Kings 6,800 people turnout protest. I'm really curious of what everyone's take is with some of the violence that we've had in downtown Charlottesville. If we're at the point of needing the metal detector, either metal detectors themselves or metal detector wands upon entry to a restaurant in downtown Charlottesville, maybe after 10 p.m. Judah, did you see that there was another shooting over the weekend?
I did.
It's disheartening. It's back-to-back weekends for that. Mm-hmm. This one, it seems like it was an event that spilled out from the Fitzroy.
Yeah.
Brouhaha that spilled out onto the downtown mall from the Fitzroy. And look, I empathize with the restaurant owners in Charlottesville. And many of the restaurant owners in downtown Charlottesville in particular are friends of mine, where I've had, kind of the luxury over the last 20 years or so to really get to know them. And it's a business that's extremely challenging. I also am concerned that, ladies and gentlemen, that the violence is coming from maybe over-serving, maybe coming from some of the security that was not done properly. I know Chief Kochis and the police department have highlighted that they're going to, in their investigations, not only investigate within the Charlottesville Police Department what's going on, but partner with the Virginia ABC, Judah. And the Virginia ABC is an indication that, hey, they're saying, look, what's going on here? Is it coming from over-serving? That's what they mean by that. We're not live on I Love CVille Food yet, J-Dubs. I'd like for you to get that up for me, please. Are we live on the group?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. We are live on my Facebook page. We are live on the I Love CVille Facebook page. We'll get rocking and rolling in a matter of moments. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts on some of the headlines that are on screen, and we'll get started in a matter of moments. Give me a thumbs up when we're live on the group there, J-Dubs. And viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Like and share the show. We encourage you, the viewer and listener, to join us in the conversation. We want you to help shape the conversation. We work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is you share the gospel, like the show, share the show, participate in the discussion. That would mean the absolute world to us, and we're very grateful if you can do that. We thank Ginny Hu for retweeting the show on Twitter. Thank you, Ginny. You're a valued member of this family, Ginny Hu. Great to hear from Carol Thorpe and Vanessa Parkhill over the weekend. Ladies, we appreciate you quite a bit. Carol Thorpe, Diantha McKeel has published an endorsement for Sally Duncan in the Charlottesville Daily Progress. I'm curious of your thoughts on that, Carol Thorpe. Like and share the show. We're going to get rocking and rolling in a matter of moments. Are we live on I Love CVille Food, J-Dubs?
It says we are.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Judah. Which headline most intrigued you and why?
We've got a lot of craziness going on right now. It's nice to see that Andy McClure is opening a new restaurant in Belmont. He does a good job with his businesses and with his employees, and I'd like to see what he's planning on creating here.
Friend of the program, Andy McClure. All right, we can rock and roll here when you're ready, Judah.
Quiet on the set.
And we're live on LinkedIn there, J-Dubs.
Should be, yeah.
Guys, good Monday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. It's great to connect with you guys through the I Love CVille network on a downtown Charlottesville Monday afternoon that is a bit cloudy and overcast. It's a pleasure to touch base with you Monday through Friday at 12:30 on our flagship show, the I Love CVille show, where we talk topics that matter, real topics, raw topics, gritty, sometimes uncomfortable topics. Today might be one of those conversations. We have yet more violence in downtown Charlottesville. And you're checking the connection there for me, J-Dubs. Is it steady? Thank you very much. Another shooting over the weekend in downtown Charlottesville that has got, a lot of us asking what the hell is going on here. I've been in this community for 25 years, and if anyone told me that on back-to-back weekends we would have gun violence on the mall, I would say that's far-fetched. Downtown Charlottesville is as safe as any place. We have our problems with the houseless population. We have our problems with panhandling. It's a melting pot of people, but gun violence is a different level of problem, folks. And now it's back-to-back weekends where we've had shootings in downtown Charlottesville. The Charlottesville Police Department has indicated that they are going to work with the Virginia ABC in its investigation of some of these shootings. I'm going to ask an uncomfortable question. A question that may rattle the cage of some of the restaurant owners that watch this program and don't always agree with the commentary I offer, but they watch nevertheless because they understand we're talking topic matter that's important to Charlottesville. Are we now at the point, ladies and gentlemen, where metal detectors are needed for restaurants in downtown Charlottesville that are serving customers, say, after 10 p.m.? Are metal detectors needed for businesses that are serving customers alcohol after midnight? That's a question I'm going to ask on the show. It's going to make some people uncomfortable, but when we've had gunfights, and we've had gunfights on the downtown mall on back-to-back weekends, we need to figure out a solution. The Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Department is now investigating some of these gunfights in conjunction with the Charlottesville Police Department. Maybe we're at the point of managing perception. And remember, perception is an important thing in this era of digital media, social media, and smartphones, where restaurants are like, look, we're going to have metal detectors if you want to patronize our business after a set time, to kind of create a sense of safety for our community that has its cage very much rattled right now. We'll talk about that today. We will talk on the show Diantha McKeel, the multi-term Board of Supervisor representing the Jack Jewett District, publishing an endorsement for Sally Duncan in the Daily Progress. Tomorrow is the Democratic primary, where Sally Duncan will face Dave Shreve in what I have called a bellwether of Albemarle County. You have two Democrats running for Diantha McKeel's seat in the Jack Jewett District, and these two Democrats, Sally Duncan and Dave Shreve, cannot be more opposite of each other. We'll talk about that on today's program, including Diantha McKeel's written endorsement, published endorsement in the Daily Progress. We will talk on today's show Andy McClure, a friend of the program, one of the first clients of my firm 17 years ago, opening another restaurant, this one in downtown Belmont. Andy McClure does business the right way. I hope Andy, someone mentions to Andy that we're going to be talking about the restaurant that he is opening across from Mockingbird and Mas Tapas in a W.E. Brown building that's been under remodeling and under construction for as long as, ladies and gentlemen, that I can remember. A lot I want to cover on the show, folks, including a reminder that we have two very important interviews lined up. On Wednesday, Roger Voisinay and Richard Price will join us. They are the developers behind Woolen Mills Court. Woolen Mills Court, ladies and gentlemen, is set to be probably the first new zoning ordinance project in the city of Charlottesville, especially after we broke the news for you that the six-story brownstones, in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood seem to be no longer a project that Evergreen builders and Evergreen developers are going to pursue. So it looks like Roger and Richard are going to have the first project under the new zoning ordinance, and they'll join us on Wednesday in studio to highlight that project. On Thursday, the team behind CVille smashed the indoor pickleball facility at the old Marshall's location on Route 29. They're going to be in studio to highlight their project. That's going to be an exciting interview as pickleball is booming in this community. A lot we're going to cover, ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Water Cooler of Conversation, including the Board of Architectural Review considering student housing in a historically black neighborhood, CVille. I'm curious to see how housing activists in general, respond to a 157 unit student housing development in the CVille neighborhood. That's going to be a hell of a storyline to follow. Judah Wickhauer studio camera, and then a two-shot as I ask you the question that I ask you every single start of the program. Which headline intrigues you the most and why?
I'm intrigued by Andy McClure opening a business in Belmont, and I'd love to hear more about what's going in there and what the plans are.
McClure, a friend of the program. Our shop designed and developed, ladies and gentlemen, the Citizen Burger Bar logo. Helped him open Citizen Burger Bar from a marketing, social media, digital media standpoint. We had an opportunity to work on the branding for the Virginian restaurant, the branding for the Biltmore restaurant, which he has since sold to a former manager, to one of his managers, and that manager is now rebranded it Ellie's Country Club. We worked alongside Andy with Jabberwocky as it transitioned from Greenskeeper to Jabberwocky. We helped design the logo and the branding. We designed the logo and branding for Lost Saint. Mm-hmm. We designed the logo and branding for Tavern and Grocery. Tavern and Grocery and Lost Saint have since been sold to Heather Sieg, who is running those two brands. We know Andy well, one of the really good guys, Andy McClure, ladies and gentlemen, one of the really good guys in the restaurant space. I'm excited for Andy as he expands his position in downtown Belmont. He, alongside the Shaughnessy brothers, did Bell, which is since rebranded into an Italian deli-type concept, pizzas and sandwiches where Bell is. So he understands downtown Belmont. He's the guy, of course, behind Citizen Burger Bar. We'll talk about that on today's show. 61 years in business. Speaking of really good guys, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply is located on, ladies and gentlemen, East High Street. They're online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. And John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion are the kind of folks that you want to do business with. They're honest, they're communicative, they understand customer service, they're extremely knowledgeable with the product they sell. If you have commercial cleaning needs, if you want a better way to sanitize and clean your house, we utilize them for our pool servicing, keeping that water as blue as possible at our house. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply guys doing things the right way. The lead of the show, however, has got to be a demonstration on Route 29 that, goodness gracious, captivated the attention of many in person and many from afar. Judah Wickhauer set the stage for what we saw over the weekend, where anywhere, depending on who you ask, 6,000 to 10,000 people showed up at this demonstration.
Mm-hmm. It was a No Kings rally that we've seen happen across the country. This one taking place in Charlottesville, lined both sides of Seminole Trail. The estimate comes from This estimate comes from Indivisible Charlottesville. They're saying that around 6,800 demonstrators turned up for the Saturday No Kings rally.
Albert Graves watching the program, Warrior AG. That's a hell of a lot of people.
That is a lot of people, and there were some drone footage.
I saw the drone footage. I think that number is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think that number is pretty accurate. First, we'll give some props where props are due. Indivisible Charlottesville, you watch the program, getting 6,000 to 10,000 people show up for a demonstration. Goodness gracious. You guys are able to galvanize the community that, for example, the University of Virginia football team and athletic department are struggling to galvanize that many people for college football games. And you're doing it for a demonstration on Route 29 that went pretty damn far. So Indivisible Charlottesville, you get some props for the organization of this event.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
It's extremely clear to me, and it's clear to all of us in this community, the political leaning of Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville. And if anyone started asking the question, Glenn Youngkin, governor's mansion, Donald Trump, White House, and you start utilizing Glenn Youngkin, governor's mansion, Donald Trump, White House, to suggest that Central Virginia, Albemarle County, were turning a shade of purple, of red even, I think you need to ease up on that. I think some of the policy and the procedure and some of the commentary and some of the decision making and from the White House in the first 5 months or so of Donald Trump's campaign has really galvanized communities, not just locally, but from afar. And if anything, it's strengthened, it's reinforced the liberal ideology and the democratic movement. Now, you have varying degrees of Democrat. You have more center aisle Democrats, you have more progressive Democrats, more socialist Democrats, more activist Democrats. So there's varying shades of Democrat, but all of them seem to be galvanized under one mission, and that's the mission of anti-Trump. And I think that mission is going to show itself in spades and many times over this election cycle. I think you will see that from a vote for governor in the Commonwealth, from an attorney general, from a lieutenant governor, from all the way down to the Jack Jewett district. If I was a betting man right now, I would bet you that Sally Duncan wins this race in a landslide. We will talk about that on the show, but that's me as a betting man. Do I think that's what's best for Albemarle County? Absolutely not. And we'll get to Diantha McKeel writing an endorsement for Sally Duncan in a matter of moments. But I do think that this community, Albemarle and Charlottesville in particular, have never been more strongly organized or galvanized or strategized than where they are today. And that's the trickle-down effect of a polarizing president. And this may be not what some viewers and listeners want to hear that are conservative, but that's just reading the tea leaves correctly. You had 6,000 to 10,000 people on Route 29 in a demonstration on their off day. Think about that. The day before Father's Day, on an off day from work, 6,000 to 10,000 people lined up on the side of Route 29 to voice their opinion on politics and the world today. Unbelievable. Anything you want to add to this, Judah Wickhauer?
Yeah, I would argue that Trump has galvanized more than just Democrats. If I had to guess, I would say that there were probably that number, whether it's 6,000, 10,000, was not all Democrats there on Saturday.
Okay, that's a fair point. So you think that those that are in attendance are across the aisle as well?
I would say at the very least, there were probably a fair number of independents there, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few Republicans there as well. Not everybody is thrilled with what's been happening with Trump and the White House and a lot of the other news items that we've seen over the last month or two.
Kevin Yancey watching the program right now. Logan Wells-Clalo, thank you for watching the show. John Blair, thank you for watching the show. Mr. Yancey in Waynesboro, we always appreciate his commentary. He says, you know what, guys? There's a lot more at stake here than just a football game.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot more at stake than just a football game. The University of Virginia struggles with this level of engagement that we saw Saturday on Route 29 for the No Kings protest. Think about that, folks. All right, next headline. Judah Wickhauer, put the lower third on screen, please. Set the table for us.
Let's see. Sadly, very sadly, we had another shooting this weekend. Fortunately, it did not
Result in death.
Yeah.
This is the second shooting on consecutive weekends in downtown Charlottesville. And praise God that neither shooting has resulted in murder.
Yeah.
Okay? We need to emphasize this. If there's any positive from downtown shootings on back-to-back weekends, is praise God they did not result in murder.
Yeah.
We've gotten the positive out of the way first. A lot to be concerned about here, Judah.
Yeah. A man was shot in the leg almost 2 a.m. near Fitzroy on the downtown mall. There has been an arrest, thankfully, of a 34-year-old man charged with reckless handling of a firearm, possession of a concealed firearm, and discharging a firearm within 1,000 feet of a school. So thankfully, there's been an arrest. The person is in custody, and as was noted, the man that was shot in the leg is expected to recover. He's not. It's not serious. It's not critical. He's at UVA Medical Center, getting the care he needs.
We have a problem of many layers on our hands here. The primary layer to this problem is a perceived safety and security problem in downtown Charlottesville. And this layer of the problem has many elements to it, including the policing of the Charlottesville Police Department, who does a hell of a job under Chief Kachis. Okay? There's no doubt in my mind they're going to investigate this. People are going to be arrested. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to head to Joe Plantania, and Commonwealth's Attorney Plantania is going to pursue the fullest extent of what he can pursue from an accountability standpoint, from a jail time standpoint. They don't mess around with gun violence. Regardless, the problem we have is this gun violence is happening in the most important 8 blocks of a 300,000 person region. And that has trickle over, trickle down, trickle up effects for all of Central Virginia.
Yeah.
All of Central Virginia. We have a perception issue and a safety issue. One of the things I'm very good at is solving problems. That's basically what I do for my job professionally, is put out fires, help deals materialize by figuring out solutions to perceived roadblocks. That's what a good deal broker does. That's what I do. That's how I make our living. It would seem to me the influential in downtown Charlottesville. These are the landlords, these are the business owners, these are City Hall, these are police. Okay? We are now at the point where we have a perception problem. And perhaps to manage that perception problem, I'm going to ask you, as you put the lower third on screen, the next one about metal detectors. Do we now need metal detectors for after-hours customers, after-hours access for the restaurants in downtown Charlottesville? If you want to access a cannabis club in downtown Charlottesville, if you want to go to a concert in downtown Charlottesville, if you want to have drinks in downtown Charlottesville at 10 o'clock or later, maybe it's midnight or later, should you have to pass through a metal detector before you can enter the establishment? Should security be metal detectoring, wanding your body for weapons before you're allowed entry? One of the interesting aspects of the press release the Charlottesville Police Department sent out over the weekend was the police department is now investigating this shooting with the Virginia ABC. And basically when the Virginia ABC gets involved, because these establishments have liquor licenses, alcohol licenses, and they have to get approval from the Commonwealth to serve booze. When the Virginia ABC gets involved, they basically are going to be sending in undercover representatives to these bars and restaurants and investigating if they're over-serving customers. And those bars and restaurants that over-serve customers may risk their liquor, their alcohol license. And if they don't have one, these restaurants aren't going to be able to succeed financially or keep their doors open. Okay? I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on this network, with the shooting that was next to the library, that was adjacent to the Cannabis Club over there. I mentioned after that shooting, does the ABC get involved? I mentioned over-serving a couple of weeks ago, remember? I mentioned, does the investigation start considering the over-serving nature of what's happening here? After this weekend's shooting, that is now the investigative tactic, or one of them, to get over-serving analysis done by the ABC. I think we are now at the point, viewers and listeners, that we need to manage perception, because perception is key in today's world. And one of the ways to manage perception is metal detectors upon entry. Another way to manage perception is extra patrol from the Charlottesville Police Department. Another way to manage perception, and then Judah, you jump in the conversation, is maybe the Friends of CVille lobbying group considers hiring its own security that patrols the downtown mall. I think a conversation needs to be had with late-night restaurant operators. And these late-night restaurant operators, they need to figure out a plan of what they're going to do with their ID checkers, the bouncers that work the door, and whether the bouncers that work the door need to get a bit more attentive on who they are allowing in to the respective establishments. If you remember, a decade or so ago, there used to be there was at one time a dress code. And that dress code was to get into the establishment that used to be Greenskeeper, 3, or Jabberwocky. Annie McClure was the head, the proprietor of this respective UVA corner establishment. And that dress code at the time was no baggy white shirts, no do-rags, and I think there might even been a restriction on hats allowed. And at the time, some time ago, when that dress code was put into place for this respective establishment, there was outcry amongst activists in the community and outcry amongst the UVA student body saying that that dress code was racial profiling. And immediately, that dress code restriction was lifted and saying, okay, we can wear baggy shorts, hats, and do-rags, okay? So having the clothing restriction as a way to turn away patrons or customers, that's going to backfire on the proprietor. A metal detector, there's no way you can attribute walking through a metal detector as racial profiling, because everybody has to do it. Now, the question you're going to have this is the question you're going to have. Who's going to pay for the metal detector?
Yeah. Who's going to man it?
Who's going to man the metal detector? Who's going to man the metal detecting wand where a body gets wand? They're going to say these are additional costs right now at a time that we're barely surviving as restaurant owners.
No doubt.
I would follow up with the answer to that by saying losing your license with an ABC investigation or having more violence in the downtown mall, that's going to be the end of your respective late night business. Because every time this story is in the headlines, less people choose to come downtown. I had a showing for office space, an office showing scheduled for tomorrow. We own office space all over Charlottesville, Albemarle County, all over the downtown mall, folks. The showing that was scheduled for tomorrow was canceled yesterday. And it was canceled because of the violence that happened over the weekend, where the husband of the potential tenant said, I don't want you working down there. First time that's ever happened to me. I've been in this real estate game of executive office space for nearly 15 years, and that's the first time that's ever happened. Your thoughts on this, and then we'll get to comments, guys, on an incredibly significant point of concern for downtown Charlottesville. Judah Wickower.
Well, both of these occurrences happened late at night.
As bars let out.
and I don't know that you could potentially catch people with those weapons if you had metal detectors, but I don't know that. So far, we haven't had any. Thankfully, haven't had any violence, any recent violence happening inside these bars and the weed cellar,
Cannabis Club.
cannabis club. I think it might be more advantageous to have some type of checkpoint coming onto the mall. Obviously, that wouldn't have done anything for the cannabis club, but I believe if we were to set up a place where people have to come onto the mall after a certain time at night.
See, I don't think you can do that, and I don't mean to interrupt you here. Being on the downtown mall, it's a public place.
Yeah.
You have no way to keep someone from going onto the downtown mall, a public place. You can absolutely, as a private business owner, restrict access to your business.
I'm not talking about restricting access to the downtown mall. I'm talking about making sure
Walking through a checkpoint on the downtown mall?
walking through a checkpoint to get onto the downtown mall.
There would be a lot more checkpoints needed to walk
I
on the
understand
downtown restaurant establishment.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the businesses that are open late night, ladies and gentlemen? Miller's,
Jack
the Whiskey
Brown's.
Jar, Jack Brown's, Rapture, Fitzroy. What are the businesses that are open downtown? And are you checking the feed here on the video?
Am I checking the feed?
Making sure we're online still?
We do appear to be having a little bit of trouble.
Okay. Think about what are the businesses that are open downtown. Give us an update there on the feed there, J-Dubs.
It might be a ting problem.
Yeah, Ting is having some difficulties downtown. I think we're back online. So you're talking maybe 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
The next question you have to ask is this. Is this a joint venture that's done with taxpayer money? That's something I would ask. Is this something that you do in conjunction with City Hall,
Right.
the police department?
I mean, I think
Because the restaurant owners themselves are not going to be able to afford it.
right, and they're not going to be able to afford to hire someone who's just going to stand at the door and check people's pockets. I think if you're going to mandate that any business open past a certain point has to have this type of infrastructure, you're going to have to find a way to pay for it.
And ladies and gentlemen watching the program, I think you guys know now that there is a Ting outage in Charlottesville, so we have choppy internet here. It is a result of the Ting outage, which is our internet service provider. These are uncomfortable conversations. I don't think the dress code is the path to pursue. I've seen the dress code backfire because of racial profiling.
It's also not going to. The dress code doesn't have anything to do with concealed weapons, except perhaps, as you said, baggy shirts may more easily cover a bulge and.
Regardless, the dress code's not the way to pursue it.
Right.
I think we may have some over-serving going on.
Possibly.
I think we certainly have people patronizing these businesses with weapons on their person.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, customers are patronizing these businesses with guns on their person. So let's get entrepreneurial and strategic of how to solve this problem. The question is, who pays for the metal detectors and the personnel? City Hall's got tax collection revenue down. Charlottesville City, its tax collection for the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year is down. It cannot risk having the 8 blocks in downtown Charlottesville underperform because of perceived safety problems. You have a multi-pronged attack with the Virginia ABC and maybe the metal detector strategy that could work. Let us know your thoughts. We'll relay them live on air. Anything you want to add to that, Judah Wickhauer, Kevin Yancey, Walt Davis Hall, Braum Romer, welcome to the broadcast. Judah, your thoughts, and then I'll get to the comments here.
I'm still not sure metal detectors at restaurants is the way to go. I think you need to prevent people from coming on the mall with weapons, and that would require some type of checkpoint to get onto the mall, and fish out those weapons that way. That way, I think people would feel more safe coming to the downtown mall as opposed to leaving it in the hands of individual restaurants, which means that something like this could have still happened because it happened outside of a restaurant. It happened outside of Fitzroy, or at least near Fitzroy.
It happened from what the police report was, from what the press statement, the release statement was. It was something that spilled out from the Fitzroy onto the mall. Look at what you're seeing. You're seeing it on the side street next to the public library 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
To now on the mall. Mm-hmm. To now on the mall, folks. It's troublesome. It's troublesome. It is troublesome. Georgia Gilmer, we understand that the signal is wonky and hitchy. We are on the Ting internet service provider, and Ting has got an outage across Charlottesville right now, which has impacted us for most of the morning. Neil Williamson highlights the link or shares the link of the clouds on the horizon for the Q1 2025 tax collection. Having issues in downtown Charlottesville from a safety standpoint is going to only impact the tax collection for Charlottesville.
Is that the one that he sent us? I've got that if we need to show it.
He did send it. You want to put it on screen? It's pretty straightforward, right? Sales tax collection for the first quarter of this year versus sales tax collection for the first quarter of last year is down. And that's a point of concern. Vanessa Parkhill in Earlysville says this: when my daughter lived in Richmond, some of the bars had dress codes. Some of the restrictions were collared shirts for guys. Girls could not wear flip-flops. The dress code strategy, I think, will backfire on bar and restaurant owners. It will be called by activists in this community racial profiling. A metal detector or a metal detector wand done by a bouncer cannot be perceived as racial profiling because everyone will have to walk through the detector or everyone will have to be wanded.
Yeah.
You're talking about not that many late night establishments. Whiskey Jar, Jack Brown's, Miller's, Fitzroy, Rapture, Citizen Burger Bar. There's not that many late night establishments out there, folks. And I would think it'd be unfair to ask the restaurant owners to pay for it in full freight themselves. I think this could be a joint venture with Charlottesville City Hall Resources, Friends of CVille, the lobbying group, and the bar owners themselves.
I don't know if that's going to change perceptions, though.
You don't know if having the community knowing that there's metal detectors you have to walk through to get in will create a perceived level of safety confidence?
I don't know that someone would feel safer coming to the downtown mall, knowing that a few restaurants have metal detectors that get turned on at 11 o'clock, midnight. I don't see how that would give people a sense of safety.
Would it give you a sense of safety, viewers and listeners, if you knew the restaurants you had to pass through a metal detector to get in? That's a question for the viewers and listeners. It would absolutely give me a sense of safety. John Blair has this comment: obviously the mall is of concern, but let's think about the following. On May 19th, there was a shooting on Hardy Drive. On May 24th, there was a shooting on Old Country Green Road. On June 6th, you had one at the Cannabis Club. On June 13th, you have one at the downtown mall. 4 shootings in the last 25 days.
Yeah.
Kevin Yancey says, Kevin, I'm very curious what your take on this. He starts using the word curfew for downtown Charlottesville. That curfew is a troublesome word for me.
Yeah.
Curfew is overstepped by government. We saw curfews during COVID.
It also puts a strain on those businesses that make their money.
And the police department to enforce a curfew. It villainizes the police department enforcing curfews. Not a fan of curfews.
Well, also, I don't know that if the police told those restaurants that they just couldn't stay open past a certain time, I don't know that they would have to increase their presence on the downtown mall if everything is closed. The problem is if those restaurants rely on, 5-6 hours that they no longer can remain open, that's going to destroy them.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this, but what happens from 9 p.m. to 1:45 in the morning at the restaurants on the downtown mall that cater to this business is how they stay alive.
Yeah.
If you took away 9 o'clock at night to 1:45 in the morning at the Whiskey Jar, at Rapture, at Miller's, at Fitzroy, at Jack Brown's, you'd see these restaurants close, folks. You'd see them closed. Juan Sarmiento watching the program, he says, I was there on Friday for my wife's 55th birthday. It seemed rather quiet because of the rain. I don't think metal detectors are the answer. They need more police presence. Charlottesville Police Department indicated they were working with the ABC on this shooting. It sounds like a bartender overserved clients, and it led to the altercation shooting. I think there's some of that. One, I appreciate your comment. I 100% think it's some of that. I think every bar or restaurant owner in downtown Charlottesville, and there are no bars in Virginia, you're restaurants by law. I think every restaurant owner in downtown Charlottesville should be communicating with their staff, especially their late night bartenders, that the Virginia ABC is going to be undercover investigating our restaurants, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. That is going to happen if it hasn't already started happening. The police department has made it clear they're working in conjunction with the ABC. This is a topic that's not going to go away anytime soon, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Because I love these 8 blocks. All right, next topic. What do you got, Judah Wickower?
Next up, we have McKeel. Diantha McKeel has written a Daily Progress endorsement for Sally Duncan.
Look, it's no secret that Diantha McKeel, the sitting Jack Jewett District, Albemarle County Board of Supervisor, whose term is about to expire, it's no secret she wants Sally Duncan to take her throne. It's no secret that the Albemarle County Democratic machine, it's no secret that Livable Charlottesville, it's no secret that activists in Charlottesville, it's no secret that all these organizations are utilizing their machine powers to push Sally Duncan over the finish line, and that finish line is tomorrow, sometime in the evening, probably earlier, where we're going to know if Sally Duncan and Dave Shreve, whoever wins that race. Mm-hmm. If I was a betting man, and I am absolutely a betting man, my money is on Sally Duncan winning this race. I'm basing that statement on fundraising totals, on basing that statement on 6 to 10,000 people on Route 29 for the No Kings protest. I'm basing that statement on the fallout for Donald Trump in his second term and how it's impacting turnout and engagement in Albemarle County. I'm surprised, I've said, that Dave Shreve has not gone on the offensive, utilizing the fact that Sally Duncan, who's utilizing this woe is me, I'm just a renter, I'm just a mom with some kids that's a school teacher, just trying to survive out here in Albemarle County. I'm surprised that Shreve has not used the fact that she's renting a massive house in Earlysville. That's thousands of dollars a month in rent. This is not a poor family. She's got a husband that's an engineer within City Hall in Charlottesville that's making a lot of money. Their take-home pay, Sally and her husband's take-home pay, is well above area median income. So this perception, this perceived platform of woe is me, I'm just a tenant trying to survive in Albemarle County, it's bogus. Okay? I'm also surprised that Dave Shreve has not gone on the offensive and utilized comments like this. She's a teacher at a $27,000 a year private school. Her campaigning is suggesting raising taxes across the board with Albemarle County and prioritizing more housing density over infrastructure. We've seen none of this for the Shreve campaign. I don't understand it. It's politics. You're losing perception. You seem to be losing right now. Get on the offensive. But each person can run their platform and their race how they see fit. Diantha McKeel has backed her endorsement on social media and the endorsement that she gave Sally Duncan to put on her platform on her website with a published endorsement in the Daily Progress. That's how much the machine wants Sally Duncan to win. And tomorrow, 24 hours from now, maybe 30 hours from now, we're going to really understand where Albemarle County is from a temperature standpoint, a bellwether standpoint. Because Duncan wants more taxes and Duncan wants more housing. Shreve does not want more housing, and Shreve is not focused on raising taxes. They're both Democrats, but they could not be more opposite.
Yeah.
So we'll learn tomorrow, maybe around early afternoon. We'll have a pretty good idea during the show tomorrow what the temperature is of Albemarle County. And if you're in the Jack Jewett district, it's not just Democrats that can vote. Republicans and independents can vote in the Jack Jewett district as well. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why Livable Charlottesville is door knocking for Sally Duncan. Livable Charlottesville's got nothing to do in the city with this zoning ordinance that is stuck in quicksand in this lawsuit. Nothing they can do in the city. Now they're focused on Albemarle County. A vote for Sally Duncan is a vote for more taxes, and a vote for Sally Duncan is a vote for more traffic and more housing. A vote for Dave Shreve is a vote for keeping the taxes where they're at now, which is still a tough pill to swallow, and not putting more housing into the ecosystem. The Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors are backing Sally Duncan. The Blue Ridge Home Builders Association backing Sally Duncan. Okay? That's it in a nutshell. Everything I just said was fact. Next topic, what do you got, Judah Wickhauer?
We've got Annie McClure in Belmont. We've got the bar considering new apartments in Fifeville.
Annie McClure in Belmont. Huge fan of Annie McClure. Friend of the program. One of the first clients we've ever had, ladies and gentlemen. Annie McClure trusted us to design and develop the Citizen Burger Bar logo and help launch his website. He trusted us to design and develop the Tavern and Grocery logo and help launch that restaurant. The Lost Saint logo and help launch that speakeasy. Mm-hmm. He trusted us to build websites for his respective restaurants. He is a restaurateur that does business the right way.
Yeah.
He's a good man, family man, fair man. He's pursuing a second restaurant in downtown Belmont. His pursuit of a second restaurant in downtown Belmont is intelligent. Downtown Belmont is catering to a different patron, a different status of patron. The downtown Belmont patron is one of elevated dining and beverage taste. Outside of Mas Tapas, there is no real late night scene there. Tavola, Mockingbird, The Local. We went on a triple date the other night at the Southern Crescent.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic eatery. You have entrees, $25, $30, $40, $50 per head easily. Okay? Downtown Belmont is booming. Mm-hmm. You're not seeing violence in downtown Belmont. You're seeing a significant customer base in downtown Belmont that for the most part leaves when they're done eating and drinking. His pursuit of this new business, an ABC permit is up. It's at the restaurant space across from, the building space, across from Mockingbird and Moss. This has been under construction forever. A decade ago, 15 years ago, I'm at Mas Tapas drinking sangria, eating bacon-wrapped dates and tomatoes asados, looking across the way at what used to be a service station of some kind. Under construction. Everyone realized this. You didn't have to be a genius, that this could be a fantastic restaurant at one time. Now an ABC permit is up. The rumor mill on Reddit has it as a potential steakhouse. Regardless, McClure, this would be his second position in Belmont. He has the Midas touch. There's some people in this community who have the Midas touch. Kid Ashley has the Midas touch.
No doubt.
Annie McClure has the Midas touch. Wilson Ritchie had the Midas touch. Some folks have figured it out. McClure is one of them. Wish him nothing but the success. Next headline, what do you got?
Next up,
Neil Williamson says, for what it's worth, the Albemarle County Registrar will not release results until polls close. They will release turnout numbers. Neil, if you were a betting man, who do you think wins this race? And then the second part of the question, if you can put it in the feed, Neil, when do you think we'll have a feel of who's won this race? My prediction is, and I hope I'm wrong, I think anyone who watches this program realizes that I do not want Sally Duncan to win, because I think increasing taxes on Albemarle Countyans and increasing density in Albemarle County is an effing travesty. We pay enough in taxes, and we don't need any more density when kids are learning in trailers outside public schools. We don't need any more density when our roads are populated with vehicles and people are stuck in traffic more so now than they've ever been in my 25 years here. Quality of life is being eroded. We need green space protection. Quality of life prioritized. But I'm smart enough to understand that the temperature of Albemarle County is the temperature of Charlottesville in a lot of ways, and it's progressive and very left-leaning, and Duncan fits that criteria. I also think Shreve's got some things that have worked against him with some of the commentary that's been published online that's being used against him, whether fair or unfair.
Yeah.
I think Duncan wins by 10 points plus. Time will tell. Next headline, what is it, Judah? CVille.
Yep.
This is something that is going to be a headline we're going to read. You give them the who, what, when, where, why. This is going to be a topic that we're going to cover for an extended period of time, folks. Get ready and giddy up for this. Judah, give them the topic.
There is a...
Sean Tubbs is reporting, right?
Yes. There's a proposal before the bar. This is an area that's just less than half a mile from UVA. The proposal calls for approximately 157 apartments. That's going to be a mix of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom units spread over 7 levels, which will include a range of study spaces and amenities. This would be across the street from properties zoned residential neighborhood A in a district that basically was intended to discourage gentrification. I don't know how people will feel about a 7-level apartment building.
Where's the exact location?
This is in the, like I said, a mile and a half from less than half a mile from UVA.
Less than half a mile.
Yeah, this is, I believe this is on 7th Street.
157 units in a historically black neighborhood. 157. Let's see how housing activists respond to multifamily to the tune of 157 units in a marginalized, historically black and poverty-stricken neighborhood. You're going to really see where the rubber meets the road and whether there is double talk or hypocrisy from housing activists. Because if the people that are pushing development across Charlottesville, if they then say no development in CVille, then that's double talk and hypocrisy. And I will say to the CVille Neighborhood Association, 157 units of student housing in your neighborhood will radically change CVille. You will not recognize CVille in any capacity when 157 units of student housing and the 1%ers of America have their students living in those luxury apartments. Mm-hmm. So giddy up and get ready. We will really get a feel for housing activists in this community if they fight against this. Because you can't say we want the multifamily at Barracks and Rugby behind the CVS in the Blue Ridge neighborhood, and you can't say we want the multifamily in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood on Alderman Road. And you can't say we want the multifamily on Stadium Road next to UVA. And you can't say we want the multifamily next to Moe's Barbecue on Ivy Road and the old Truist Bank. And then say, oh no, we don't want it here in Fifeville.
Does student housing count as multifamily?
Yes.
Okay.
All those projects, multifamily. Except we'll say maybe the 6 brownstones, and it looks like that project's been scrapped. Ladies and gentlemen, any other topics?
That is all we've got.
Some comments from Deep Throat. Welcome back to the show, Deep Throat, from Montana. He's watching the program. He says, tongue-in-cheek, who could ever foresee that upzoning would lead to development in the lowest priced areas? I thought it was all going to go in just the places calculated to spite the powerful elite in our community. So naive, these housing activists. By the way, another student project.
Yeah.
We said for years on this show that the neighborhoods that were going to be targeted for multifamily were going to be the ones where the dirt was most affordable. Mm-hmm. I said Fifeville, I said Star Hill for years. He also says, Deep Throat, someone should ask Diantha McKeel why there are 11,000 units approved, zoning and other regulatory, but unbuilt within the growth area. The YIMBY theory of case is wrong, or in Diantha McKeel's watch, the development staff is so hard to deal with that developers with approved plans aren't bothering to build. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Ginny Hu, we'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that multifamily is at a point of saturation here. And you're starting to see multifamily projects come on with the word luxury and all the branding and marketing.
Yeah.
The multifamily that's coming online is more expensive to rent than it is to own a house on a $600,000 or $700,000, or more expensive than the mortgage on a $600,000 or $700,000 house.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how expensive the multifamily is. And the people say, oh, it's going to create a top-down, trickle-down effect, where the expensive people are going to go after the multifamily, which is going to free up the other apartments for the lower class and working class to rent. Folks, that's not how it works. As soon as the Code building came online with its executive office space and its open work model, those price points got all of us in downtown Charlottesville that had executive offices at our disposal. I have 24 of them that I own. We raised our rates 30% overnight because of what Code did. The units on the bottom end of the barrel will ride the coattails of the units at the top end of the barrel with its rent. Yeah. Villas at Southern Ridge, I got a position over there. I'm following all the Stadium Road, which is right around the corner from Villas at Southern Ridge. I'm following the Moe's project. I'm following the project on 250. Once those rents start checking in at $35,000 or $4,000 a month, we're going to jack up our rents $500, $600 a month. And everyone in the Villas is going to do it. Cavalier Crossing, this Northern Virginia St. Bonaventure firm, they bring these luxury units online at Cavalier Crossing. Villas at Southern Ridge is going to jump 20 to 25% in rent. Ginny Hu's comments. Restaurants have been over-serving people for the whole 30 years I've lived here, and I did my fair share of closing down bars. Never remember a shooting. I think we should be asking what has changed. What has changed, unfortunately, is the accessibility to guns. The ability to get guns these days is easier than ever before. And the willingness to utilize a gun to solve a dispute is frankly terrifyingly effortless. Disputes settled, and now we're starting to sound like our parents here. Disputes settled when I was closing down the bars were disputes done with pushing and shoving and fists.
Yeah.
It was never guns. Such is life. Shift God 13 on YouTube says the same. It's more about how these kids are raised than anything. And Shift God 13 on YouTube says, my generation could not care less about police. I'm 22 and people my age have absolutely no respect for the police presence. That's unfortunate. And Shift God 13 says on YouTube, I worked at Trinity on the corner and we did wand after a certain time. Wanding is easy and quick. I would encourage any bar owner in downtown Charlottesville to start wanding patrons before you allow them entry into your establishment.
I think he's very, very correct. He's got a great point about how people are being raised. I've heard there are a lot of problems in schools surrounding kids these days knowing how to deal with their emotions in a productive way, rather than something like this where somebody decides to pull out a gun instead of using their words.
Neil Williamson, watching the program, he thinks the Jack Jewett race will be won by less than 100 votes. Wow. And he also says he thinks we'll know by about 8:30 tomorrow. All right, that's the talk show. Judah Wickhauer, yours truly, Jerry Miller. We apologize for the internet issues. We're on the same Ting internet service provider as a lot of people in the city of Charlottesville, and they have had some trouble in Charlottesville in the Rugby Barracks neighborhood that has spilled into downtown and to Belmont. We've been told that those issues will be resolved early afternoon. Tomorrow we talk Democratic primary, ladies and gentlemen. And goodness gracious, that Fifeville story with student housing in Fifeville, that's a Pandora's box that's ready to open. There's a lot of dynamic on that story. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller. So long.